Now that you've mentioned Max Verstappen, you know what? Let's actually get right to it. It's the defining moment of the season. Silverstone was something. This is just something else. Ted Kravitz on Sky Sports, I just love the man. He said we should just coin the phrase Verstappen and Hamilton go have a sprint race on Saturday and crash on Sunday, because that seemingly has been the case all the time. Watch out for Interlagos if you are into betting, which I don't think you should be. Put your money on them, right? For silver for Interlagos, maybe this is going to happen. But all things considered, Kunal, this is just. Firstly, let me compose my thoughts for a second. What I mean to say is, thank goodness for the halo. You can never, ever, ever doubt it again. Just the visual, just the sight of seeing Verstappen's rear wheel on Hamilton's shoulder, even with the halo, was quite something. And Martin Brundle on commentary was recollecting a moment where Ayrton Senna also had a similar moment with him back in the day, but Senna's car was actually revving at the background. We should be lucky that Max wasn't doing that. That is a frightening thing. So, good things first, safety, everything worked, that was perfect, but what was not perfect, Kunal? All this happened. In a way, it's perfect for Formula One. We all need these moments, right? In a rivalry like Senna versus Prost, like Schumacher versus Hakkinen. We need moments like this one, and we've got two of them with Verstappen versus Hamilton. Your thoughts? Penalty, just be totally honest. Just go for it.
Well, I think the FIA really needs to stop with the nonsense, in my view. I see it as a racing incident. And I really wish that neither driver was penalized. Of course, only one driver was penalized in the end. And the reason why I say this is, of course, everyone by now who's interested in Formula One and the crash and the FIA and the way they dissected it, it's a very interesting dissecting they've done. They said who was ahead before, who was ahead after, what happened, what didn't happen. And I think this is the bane of technology in a lot of ways. You can literally slow it down to every frame and be like, on that square inch of the track, Lewis was 1/10 behind or whatever step ahead, and hence Max should have yielded. And I think that technology is great to have, when we really need to dissect and learn things. But in my view, when a driver is going for it, I don't think he or she is going to think just so much in that, I need to make sure I do this, I do that. Sometimes you just need to overtake or you just need to defend. And Max needed to do that. He knew that if Lewis went away, Lewis would just go. He would finish behind Lewis. So he was right in not wanting Lewis to go. And likewise with Lewis as well. Both drivers knew they had that one chance, and that opportunity came because of their slow stops or whatever it is else that happened, right? So I think Max was, of course, overambitious. I think Lewis did give him just about space as well. But was there enough space? That whole corner, the way the corner goes, with the turn one on the right, turn two on the left. I think just when you put all the factors in place, I don't think, the word predominantly is being misused out here, in my view again. And I just wish it was a racing incident. I think both drivers paid the penalty with a DNF. You can't get a bigger penalty than that. You're not scoring points for yourself, right? And just because they gave Lewis a 10-second whatever in Silverstone, they have now given Max a 3-place grid penalty because, of course, Max was out of the race. And, the only common thread in this, Soumil, is that both times it was the driver attacking. It was the driver making a move that got penalized. And that's where I'm literally wondering, are the rules being so strictly put in place to avoid any sort of overtakes that go slightly over the line? Because on one end we are like, hey, let's design cars so that they can overtake. And now when we've got cars which you almost cannot overtake in, and if an overtake happens and it's a little bit of a question mark, you're like, Tong, that's a penalty. End of rant. Thank you.
You're right with that. Wasn't it Austria where we saw something similar like that happening to the driver trying to overtake as well? I don't get it. And it's a racing incident. Lewis could have left more space. Let's answer the questions that we got from all of you, dear listeners and viewers. One from Manav. It goes back to why we saw this happening. Manav is asking, Max forgot he's in a faster car. He could have had more chances to overtake ahead in that lap. You can't do that, right? In that case, when you see your major title rival slip up after a slow pit stop, much like you, of course, you have to get past. You just do. Max could have waited, but you can't tell that Max was faster. Lewis was just about as competitive, and there's always that variable with those compounds of tires after changing it, so you couldn't quite tell. But and that here the moment really gets to him. But seriously, Kunal, Lewis could have left the space. Max could have been. I don't know what Max could have done. Seriously, I don't get it. Why? It's just beyond me. But
It's true. It's true what you're saying. What could have Max done? Max could have backed out. You're
yeah,
expecting a racing car driver to back out in the middle of two corners, in the middle of a
where can he
technical.
go?
I wouldn't say. Yeah, exactly. What should he have taken the runoff and then given the spot back to Lewis, and then do what every other driver did, give the spot away in a way that you can overtake the next corner? Should he have not attacked at all? I mean, Max was not in the quicker car in Monza, at least based on the data we saw. He was just unable to take the battle to the Mercedes cars right from qualifying, as we saw that. So he was right in wanting to make the most of the opportunity that came his way. And could he have made the overtake later? I don't know. I mean, you're in a high-speed sport. The stakes are so high. That's Lewis Hamilton. It's one of the most difficult drivers to overtake. Why are we expecting people to wait? If in cricketing parlance, if the ball is out there to hit for a six, you want your batsman to hit it for a six.
Spot on. And why would they back out? Why would they? If in a situation like this, you expect drivers to back out, something is fundamentally wrong with the sport. And the penalty like this one sets a precedent like that, that in such situations, you should wait and play the longer game. Really? Why do we watch the sport in the first place? Hey, we could go on and on. Let's answer.
I'm gonna just say, what you just said, just last point.
Yeah.
The whole waiting game thing, Monza. Let's address this point, and we said it in the studio that we had the pre-race studio and the post-race studio actually, right, on VIA Sport. Monza, Temple of Speed. The highlight of this race is the toe. We said toe. Three things to look out for this Grand Prix weekend. We were expecting cars to slipstream by with so much ease, and then of course the wretched DRS wing. But guess what? It was actually difficult to overtake in Monza. That's how the cars have been designed. So on one hand, we're giving drivers cars which are so difficult to overtake in. And then on the second hand, when they actually try and make an overtake, and you of course have to try, right? And something goes a little wrong, you're like, doing that's a penalty. And again, end of rant.
Don't design a bus of a car. I still have a problem with the 2022 car. It is so long. You don't need a car that's so long. They're backing it up by data. So I'm not an expert. I'm just sitting here in my bedroom, but you don't need a car that's supposed to be so long. It doesn't help with the racing. You can see. Hey, apparently they don't like racing, do they? Let's focus more on the other questions. I know I've said it twice, but there are a few interesting ones. Vinayak and Shilp, of course, asked what we just discussed, our opinions on the crash. T2M3D9, that's a bit of an interesting username. He said, Max is at fault, but not malicious. He doesn't hit the curb. There's no such crash, in my opinion. Racing incident? I guess so. I really guess so. But finally, Kunal, before we move on to the stats by Sundaram, those curbings were not nice. You don't want to see a car flipped up like that. That is vicious. It reminds me of this Formula 3 crash we had in 2019. I don't remember the driver, one of the Australian ones with really frizzy hair, forgot his name, launched up at Parabolica now, Curva Alboreto. Now we see Max launch up in such a dangerous position, I'm sorry. I don't think sausage curbs are the right way, right? You just put a natural blockade and you can't. I mean, as a driver, you have to respect it. If you go past, you stop and let the other guy go past. More on that with Sergio Perez, but yes, your thoughts.
I mean, I can't think curbs right now. I can't think sausages. I'm vegan, as you guys know. But yes, Max did get, he of course, it was a weird thing that happened to his car. It's like what you see at the end of an aircraft carrier, that which helps you take off. Could he have backed off? Yeah, well, maybe he's thinking that. Should he have just taken the points? He's been in the lead. I don't know. Who do you think is the big loser? I think the big loser in all of this is Lewis Hamilton because, he's still behind on points and he scored no points.
That's a good one. Team-wise, Red Bull Racing still. I will tell this more in a few minutes when we come to Sergio Perez. But driver-wise, nothing ventured, nothing gained, to be honest. Max could have had a bit of a worse race. Again, more frustrated with that slow stop. Really can't tell. It freezes the championship. It's good for Formula One. Controversy brings more people into the sport, as you rightly mentioned, Kunal, a couple of episodes ago on Silverstone. But this is just weird. It's good for the sport, let's put it that way, but bad for the sport at the same time in the way that racing is discouraged. Hey, enough on that one. We could go on for hours on this, but we've got something special on the way for you, and you probably